LeBron James, 17-time All-Star, 16-time All-NBA player, 4-time champion, 4-time MVP. It's not a question that this man is one of the greatest, and he's been so great for so long that sometimes it's hard to even imagine a world where this man was not a household name. It's now been 18 long years since we saw an NBA season play out without this man in it, and for a lot of us, we've never even seen a year where this man wasn't on top. But of course, there was once a time when people had no idea how good LeBron was, and in this 2-decade-old footage I'm going to show you today, we can see a glimpse of people first learning about the man that would soon become the king. But before we get into things real quick, be sure to subscribe to this channel. We are dropping videos multiple times a week. I'm going all in and not stopping at anything. And trust me, you're not going to want to miss out on what I have coming soon. Alright, let's hop straight into this story. LeBron Raymond James was born on December 30th, 1984 in Akron, Ohio. Ironically, that was the year that Michael Jordan would be drafted. Growing up with little wealth and no father figure, James and his mother Gloria bounced from apartment to apartment as they struggled to pay rent. Things got so bad that eventually Gloria gave up her son to the household of his football coach as she continued to fail to find money to support her child, and she worried that he wasn't growing up in a healthy home environment with just one parent. Thankfully, the game of basketball can be a savior to many, and after a 9-year-old LeBron was introduced to the game of basketball by his football coach, he never looked back, leading his 5th grade team to nationals just 1 year after first picking up a basketball. He'd go on to dominate the game at both the middle school and high school levels, quickly gaining more and more attention, especially after putting up 21 points a game in just his freshman year of high school on varsity. Fun fact, current Indiana Pacer Jakar Sampson, as well as the world's most credible NBA reporter Brian Windhorst, also attended St. Vincent St. Mary High School, the very school that LeBron first jumped onto the scene with. Windhorst's mother actually was one of LeBron's health teachers in high school. At this point, LeBron was known, but only among the small sliver of basketball fans that watch and follow high school basketball, which isn't most. He was so unknown, in fact, that when Brian Windhorst asked his boss if he could report on more St. Vincent games, his boss rejected the idea and told him that he only wanted to go there because he had bias for his old school. You know, there's obviously no other reason to want to watch this team play. I mean, come on, it's not like they had a future 17-time All-Star on their team or anything. In his junior season, a 16-year-old LeBron James was then invited to the ABCD camp, a camp that at the time was regarded as the #1 camp in the country for high school talents to go up against each other in scrimmages in front of pretty much every scout ever. And this year, even Kobe Bryant was in attendance to give some speeches and evaluate the young talent. The camp always featured the best players of every class, and this year, LeBron would be facing the likes of Carmelo Anthony, Sebastian Telfair, and the then #1 ranked high schooler in the country, Lenny Cook. Remember his name because he will be very important to this story. Cook had all the physical tools to be one of the greatest basketball talents of all time, as shown by his ability to become the #1 ball player in his class without really even trying that hard. He had incredible discipline issues and never really committed to the game, as a 2013 documentary about him exposed when they released footage of him during his peak years, refusing to wake up to go to practice and then trying to run away once he got there.
Fuck that. Shit. Yeah.
Right now, you're concerned about expending energy going through drills. This shit here, you gotta understand, Michael Jordan came here, the same people, all these cats is wearing his shoes, wearing his underwear, wearing his shirts and stuff. He never missed the Station 13. He never missed one. Trust me. Come on, man.
Everyone wait. Yin yang. Let's go, big fella. Yin yang. There you go. You lost.
Yeah, I thought y'all was leaving.
Regardless, Cook was still seen as the guy to beat, and 1 year prior, he had led his team to the championship of the camp's tournament. But the big point here is, everybody at this camp was the king of their hometown. To them, LeBron James was just another guy. Here's what I'm talking about. In this clip I'm about to show you, after a seesaw battle of a scrimmage between Cook and Carmelo Anthony, in which Cook would eventually come out on top, Lenny isn't fazed at all and refuses to compliment Melo.
That nigga nice, right? Carmelo Anthony.
He alright.
Huh?
He alright.
He nice, right?
He good.
He nice.
He good.
He nice,
He
right?
good.
To Cook, Melo is just another guy. He's not the NBA legend we all see him as today. He's just a 16-year-old kid that's ranked below him. He's no big deal. So Cook beats Melo's team, and his friend tells him that next up, he has to beat, quote, the kid with the nappy afro. That kid he's talking about is LeBron James. Cook doesn't care and responds with, quote, he's not in my division.
Another one off the hit list. You get nappy afro. You get nappy afro tonight, right?
Who's that? LeBron? I don't play him. He's not in my division.
When y'all gonna match up? Don't tell me he ain't gonna match up his whole camp.
Probably in a playoff.
And he's right. LeBron indeed was not in his division. He was above it. While LeBron went to the NBA and did everything any player could ever wish to do, Lenny was off playing in China. So I guess he wasn't wrong after all.
I'm looking to be the next superstar, not the next Kobe Bryant.
Lenny Cook, senior, Old Tappan High School, Old Tappan, New Jersey.
Kobe is Kobe and I'm LeBron, you know, I gotta do what I gotta do. LeBron James, Jr., same been the same area.
Then we get this footage of Lenny waiting to play LeBron as the future 4-time MVP finishes up his scrimmage. At the end, they meet up, dap each other up, and then Lenny goes back to his circle. One of his friends then forgets LeBron's name. This time, instead of being the kid with the nappy afro, he's just, quote, that kid over there.
How much you had?
Huh?
How much you had?
I don't know. 15, 16, something.
Workouts, huh?
I will. You too, baby.
I'll back up with you.
Who that?
That killed.
LeBron.
He is serious.
LeBron James.
That nigga legit.
In the moment, it's a very little detail, but looking back, it's just strange to see a time where LeBron was known as just that kid. And it's especially ironic that, of all things, it was LeBron's hair that was the defining quality he had to Cook's friends. So LeBron and Lenny play each other in the tournament's finals, and the kid with the nappy afro outscores Cook 24-9. In the final 6.2 seconds of this game, with countless scouts watching and with Lenny's team up by 1, LeBron sprints to the three-point line while being heavily guarded by Cook and hoists up an awkward and fumbled three-pointer that somehow finds its way to the basket and swishes clean through the net. LeBron won.
I think Lenny felt after the game with LeBron that he was embarrassed a little bit because the 24-9 is definitive. That's obvious. The other kid's team won, LeBron's team won. That was more definitive, and he won in spectacular fashion. Everything was perfectly scripted for LeBron yesterday and not for Lenny. And I think that happens. It's happened other times. He had his rooting section here. He had people from New York City. He is the crowd favorite here. And in his mind, I thought he played very well. I mean, in normal circumstances. He had a good game. He did a lot of good things. Some of the shots didn't go in. That's the difference. Some shots go in, some shots don't go in. The last shot LeBron made went in.
As the story goes, this has gone down as the moment that killed Cook's career, but of course, things are always more complicated than that. In the same way that Muggsy Bogues' career wasn't actually ruined the second Michael Jordan called him a midget, Cook had a troubled home life, was very lazy, struggled with injuries, and fathered a child in high school. He probably hasn't thought about that shot in years, but regardless, this was indeed one of the last times LeBron got to enjoy his dominance while simultaneously being pretty unknown. LeBron's junior and senior high school years would be the ones that turned him into a national sensation. He'd appear on the covers of both Slam magazine and Sports Illustrated before being named the Gatorade National Player of the Year. His newfound fame led to many of his team's high school games becoming nationally televised, a very rare occurrence for high school. And then, in 2003, he'd become the #1 pick of that year's draft. And from there, I'm pretty sure we all know how the rest of the story goes. As a matter of fact, 18 years later, we are still watching it play out. And that is where we are going to conclude this video. Be sure to subscribe. You made it all the way to the end of the video, so hey, why not? Clearly you liked what you saw. I truly and honestly do appreciate each and every subscriber I get, and you're not gonna want to miss out on what I have coming soon, so just click that little red button. Huge shout out to Bratska Basket for providing me with the footage you saw of LeBron and Lenny Cook in this video. It's all part of a criminally underrated documentary about Cook that will be the first link in the description. And with that, stay safe out there.